Alright, so this is part 2 of my solo blind run at the Ghosts of the Deep dungeon, which is the new dungeon that released with Season of the Deep. You can find it at the helm. You have to have the dungeon key or pass or whatever it is that you have to purchase if you didn't get the deluxe edition of Lightfall. If you do have the deluxe edition, then you have access to both dungeons that are going to be coming out this year. And I've been streaming this live on Twitch for the past few days. However, finally on my successful run at beating Ecthar, the second encounter, I was not live on Twitch, but here's a video just to show you how I did it. If you've been following me on my YouTube, the first video, and my community posts, you will have seen that I've been very stubborn about trying to do this on Broodweaver. And for the first encounter, that was fine. You know, getting 1 or 2 damage phases on Ecthar is okay on Broodweaver. But look at these seasonal artifact perks. And this is not an easy dungeon boss fight. It is brand new still. It's only a few days old. The season just released. We're at a low artifact level. Yes, there's no pinnacle grind, but still the dungeon is a higher level than Duality and Spire the Watcher. I think this encounter is probably at 1800. So until I'm 1820, I'm not going to be fully optimized for this encounter. Even 1830, like just assuming that the last boss fight is going to be pinnacle 1810, that means you want to grind your artifact level to 1830 to be optimized for the dungeon, so that it would feel the same as far as like enemy tankiness and damage resistance. It would feel the same as going into Duality right now at 1600 and doing that, because you're capped at 20 overpower for low level stuff no matter what. So I'm not going to be at 1830 until later in the season, and until then I just had to bite the bullet and say that, okay, I can't do this on Broodweaver. The season artifact perks aren't that great for Strand. Strand is not that great in general for this encounter. And I'm still low level, so I'm going to use a better class. I'm going to stay on Warlock. But I'm going to switch to a more optimized subclass for dealing with the encounter and that can benefit from the season artifact perks. Those being 3 important perks that make a huge difference for this encounter. And I don't even have access to the last column yet, which I think is Lightning Strikes Twice. And so the last column unlocks 2 arc perks that basically does extra jolt damage from your abilities or something like that, and you get more grenade energy every time you throw a grenade. So those are very good, and I did not have those in this run, but I did have 3 perks that are very good, arguably even more important and better than those last column perks, that being the one that increases the duration of being amplified, and then there's one that gives you damage resistance while being amplified. And I think that was the main key here. And then the other key artifact perk that just made this encounter go faster, which means that if you can damage the boss in less phases, then it means you have to do everything less, and your chances of surviving are better because you're not here for as long, dealing with all the risks. That perk is Thunderous Retort, and I noticed this while I was farming Last Wish last week, just testing out. I was running Sentinel Titan, and we needed to 1 phase Riven doing the cheese method, and we weren't having any luck. So I said, okay, well, how about I just switch to Curus? Because I'm not. Last week was the first time I've ever done Last Wish. So I wasn't really thinking about how to do stuff in the best way possible. I didn't know. But I switched to Curus, and we got closer to a 1 phase. And then I realized that there was an artifact perk that increases your super damage. So that's what Thunderous Retort does. While you're amplified, or while you're critically wounded, but I mean, just think of it like this. Get amplified, and then do super, and you're going to do a lot more damage. Like, my damage numbers went from 700k in one phase against Riven to 900k on the next phase when I had Thunderous Retort on. So I considered that when choosing Stormcaller over Strand, and I was already on the Stag for Broodweaver for doing my last 3 hours of attempts on this boss fight, just because the Stag was giving me more survivability than Necrotic Grips and Swarmers and all that. Like, if you're not on Titan with Bonk and Restoration, or if you're not on a Solar subclass where you can get Restoration, Healing Grenades, Cure, all that stuff, then you need to rely on some damage resistance, and that you can get that from the Stag. If you've been following my content on my channel, I've used the Stag a ton on Stormcaller. It's actually been pretty much my exclusive exotic perk of choice for doing solo flawless anything. Nightfalls, weekly, Master Nightfalls and weekly Master campaign missions, I would run the Stag frequently with Stormcaller. So yeah, basically I was coming to terms with myself what I was going to do if I was really going to give up on Broodweaver until, at least at this point in the season, at the beginning, already being fairly weak. I was getting ready to make the choice to switch. And I just happened to catch a streamer on Twitch, ATP all the players, so credit to him. And I noticed I just went onto his stream the other day, and I saw he was doing Ecthar with Stormcaller, and he was using the Stag. I mean, he was hot swapping between several different loadouts and exotics and weapons, which I don't do. But I appreciated the fact that he was using the Stag, and if a speedrunner like that, and one of the top in the world for raids and speedruns and all that is using the Stag on Stormcaller, I thought, well, okay, I can't give up on my Stag now, so I may as well go all out and go with Arc, keep the Stag on, take advantage of those seasonal artifact perks, and it made a big difference. I don't know what the damage resistance values are from being amplified, but I definitely had way more survivability. Not only that, but just being amplified with the speed boost makes it super easy to get around the map and outrun the enemies and make yourself a hard target to hit. So yeah. So I guess seeing as I'm only at I've only done one phase of damage here, I should probably explain how this encounter works. I figured out how it works before watching anybody else do their runs. It's not that complicated. You're basically making use of that Vestige of Light buff like you did in the first encounter when you're doing the totems, and you're lighting the totems, and you're fetching matching symbols and all that stuff. I mean, the way it all works is a little bit different, but it's pretty straightforward. If you just go into this blind, you'll kind of figure it out. Like, basically, you kill the orange bar knights, and then an ogre spawns. Okay, well, here, I'll just go through it step by step. You start the encounter. There's going to be 3 knights that spawn. 1 top middle, and then 1 top right, 1 top left, right? So, like, you go up the stairs in this parapet area, this catwalk around the back of the room. You got a knight left, top, middle, and then right. There's 3 knights. Left, middle, right. You kill the 3 knights, and then an ogre spawns top middle. once you kill the ogre, the boss goes away. So keep in mind that while you're killing these knights and the ogre, the boss is just kind of roaming around, chucking suppressor grenades at you, and if he gets too close, he'll smash you, and you know, he'll kill you pretty quick. So try and avoid the boss if you can while you're doing that. Once you kill that ogre, then the boss despawns, and he goes underwater, or under methane. I'll just call it water for the sake of this, but yeah, he goes away, and a deep sight node or orb or whatever you want to call it spawns in the middle of the map near that kind of statue or fountain area. So kill the ogre, the boss goes away, a deep sight will be available for you to go and reveal in the middle of the map. You go and reveal the deep sight, and it's going to show you 3 symbols. You look to the plates on the left side of the room and on the right side of the room. There's like 4 plates that kind of just look like frying pans hanging up in the air. And 3 symbols are going to appear on any one of those plates. It doesn't matter which one it is. It's just completely random. Sometimes you can get 3 symbols on one side showing up, 2 on one on the other. It doesn't matter. It's just totally random. Just look for them. All you need to know is what the symbols are. Okay, so here I've got Stickman, X, and V. Or I'm calling that VX, right? Because this one has kind of like a V in the crotch. There's another X right here that it has like 2 lines, right? So that there's like 4 styles of X's. So you're gonna have to figure out a call-out system for yourself where you can remember them. So once you go underwater here, you have to collect the symbols. If you pick up the wrong symbol, you die. If you're not sure if you picked up the symbol or not, just look at the symbol. There'll be like another green circle above it. It means that you got it, and you're not going to be able to pick it up again, so don't worry about it. But if you do need to check, yeah, you can just check to make sure that you already picked it up or not. For each symbol that you pick up underwater, a light bearer wizard is going to spawn up here. Usually they're in the bottom section, and sometimes there'll be one wizard that spawns up here on the catwalk area. It could be anywhere, but yeah, usually they spawn down here. So if you're not comfortable having 3 Lucent Hive wizards up at the same time, then don't go and get all 3 symbols underwater in one shot. If you want, you could take it slow, and you can just go get 1 or 2 symbols and then just save 1 symbol for last. I found when I was doing this on Broodweaver, it was way too overwhelming to have 3 up at a time. But I wasn't experiencing as much of a problem with Stormcaller. Anyways, so you come back up. You got the 3 wizards. You want to find them right away. Kill them. As soon as you kill one and finish its ghost, you're going to get the Vestige of Light buff. And the timer's not going to be extended for every wizard that you kill. So if you want, what you can do is once you kill one of those wizards, just deposit the Vestige of Light in one of the 3 totems to get rid of the buff, and that way you're not on a timer anymore until you go and find the next wizard and kill it. If you try and kill all 3 wizards in one go before depositing any of the Vestiges of Light in the totems, then you might find yourself running low on time by the time you're done killing the wizards, and now you've got to deposit all 3 in one shot, which can be a bit tricky because ads spawn constantly right next to those totems. So It's not like you could just run up to them and deposit them willy-nilly. Like, you have to do some ad control, you have to clear stuff out. So it's totally up to you how you want to do it. I just find it easier if I kill 1 or 2 wizards, just go and deposit right away. And then I have a system that I use. By the way, it doesn't matter which totem that you deposit the Vestige of Light in. You can't get it wrong, right? The only thing that you had to get right was going to collect the right symbols underwater. That's all that mattered. Once you got those symbols from underwater, there's no, like, you can't really screw it up unless you let the Vestige of Light buff run out, then you die. Just make sure you deposit, you light the totems while you have the buff. That's all you got to do. So each wizard lets you deposit 1 buff, and you can pick which of the totems you want to deposit it in. It doesn't matter. So what I like to do is I go left, so I go clockwise basically. So I go left, middle, and then I save the right one for last. Because if you noticed, the map of this encounter, like, the room is on a tilt, sloping from right to left. So it's sloping down from right to left. So the right side of the room is higher than the left side of the room. So it actually makes transitioning from the right side of the room to the front of the map where you're going to do damage a little bit easier than the other 2 totem areas. So yeah, right. So once you're done killing all the wizards and you're ready to light that last totem, you want to do a little bit of basically work, or you want to check on the status of your armor charge and your abilities and your ammo before you light that last totem. You know, assuming that you have like 30 seconds or more on your Vestige of Light buff, you know, you're not in a huge panic. Just go around, make orbs, get the maximum amount of armor charge that you can get. Make sure your abilities are in a good spot, and then when you're all ready, light that last totem, and then immediately, because now damage has started. As soon as you light that last totem, the damage window starts, and it's about 50 seconds, and that's it. So now you need to get to the middle of the map between those 2 pillars, basically where the rally flag is. So you're basically beelining from the 3rd totem that you lit. You're going to beeline to the rally flag area. There's going to be a yellow bar knight that spawns there, and you need to kill that knight, preferably nuke it, and it's going to drop a green pool. You need to stand in that green pool to collect the buff that's going to allow you to damage the boss, right? The boss will not be immune if you pick up that green buff. If you don't pick up the green buff, you're not damaging the boss. You're just going to get immune. So yeah, I'm using Lament here. So I just head straight for that yellow bar knight, and I sword it. Don't worry about wasting heavy ammo. Like, you have plenty of Lament ammo to kill that knight and damage the boss for the entire damage phase without running out of ammo, assuming you started the encounter with your ammo in good standing. But yeah, so then there's some little tricks that I use to basically kind of maximize the damage phase, and I could probably do quite a bit better, but this is how I got it to work for me. And so a lot of this has to do with my build and making sure that I'm making full use out of my build. So what I'm doing for my build is I'm trying to get my armor charge to a point where I can have armor charge for basically a minute. right? Because if the damage phase is 50 seconds, then I should be safe if I get 60 seconds of armor charge, right? So from the time that I pick up that last orb of power to get my last stack of armor charge to lighting the last totem so that the damage window starts, I should theoretically have armor charge for the duration of that whole damage phase. And that's important because my armor charge is giving me 22% more weapon damage because I'm using 3 stacks of Solar Surge mods for Lament. And the way that I'm getting a minute is I'm using what is it? It's charged up, I think, on the chest piece. It just allows you to carry 1 extra stack of armor charge so that you can have 4 stacks instead of 3. And I used to run double time dilation with no charged up, right? So I would just have 3 stacks of armor charge, but if you use double time dilation, you get 18 seconds per armor charge. So you basically almost have 60 seconds if you just do double time dilation, or you can just do 1 copy of time dilation and 1 copy of charged up, and then you get 60 seconds, which is a little bit more, and that frees up a slot on your class item for the new combat mod perk that released with the season. And I can't remember, is it Powerful Attraction? I think it's the one where when you use your class ability, you pick up all orbs of power that are within like a 10 meter radius. It's actually a pretty generous radius. So like if you can see orbs that are like 15 feet away from you, if you activate your class ability, you're just gonna get those orbs. So it's really useful, and it's only 2 energy, but it basically meant that I needed to give up a copy of time dilation. So, but I was able to make that sacrifice because I could just use charged up on my chest piece. Yeah, it means that I might have to give up like an extra reserve mod on my armor piece or an extra damage resistance mod, but it was worth it in the end, especially with Amplified giving you damage resistance already, and you can't run reserve mods with Lament anyway, so that doesn't really matter. One thing that you might want to use though with Lament is Lucent Blades. I can't believe I actually forgot to equip it for this run, but that just goes to show you that maybe I didn't really need it after all. But I did mess up a few of my combos, like my sword wasn't charged when I thought it was, so I was like trying to rev up do the revved attacks, and I was just doing non-revved attacks. It's because I didn't realize that I wasn't using Lucent Blades, so my timing was a little bit off. So I messed up my combos a few times here and there. And because of that, my damage wasn't optimized. So if you can use Lucent Blades, 1 copy on your chest piece, it just makes the 2 revved light and then 1 heavy and then 2 unrevved attacks combo. It just makes it way more fluid. And I think that is the best DPS combo to do with Lament, is to rev your sword so that you get Banshee's Wail, and you do 2 revved light and 1 revved heavy, and then just 2 regular uncharged unrevved swings while your sword is recharging, basically. And by the time you're done those 2 light swings that are unrevved, your sword's going to have enough energy for you to do another revved combo of 2 light 1 heavy. So you might not get the maximum burst damage that you can out of a heavy rev attack, but you get more heavy revved attacks with this combo. I think especially over a 50-second window. I could be wrong on that. Things could have changed, but this is how I've been doing it. So, and then there's a few other little nuances that I had to use here. So what can I say about that? One thing, if you're using the Stag on Stormcaller, you're gonna get more rifts than you would on Broodweaver, even if you're using Thread of Mind, so that when you kill suspended targets, you get class ability energy. You can do that, obviously, but with all the ionic traces that you get on Stormcaller, I think you just naturally get more rifts anyways. You know, so I'm using 100 recovery and I'm producing ionic traces left and right. It's like I get plenty of rifts. And also I'm using bolstering detonation, so when I do damage with a grenade, I get rift energy. And then when I cast my rift, I get grenade energy from bomber. So I loop that cycle so that I can get more grenades, more rifts, but the key being more rifts, because my rifts are my survivability, basically. That is my restoration times 2. Yeah, and if you didn't know, I think the Stag gives you something like 50%. It's basically like Woven Mail, but you're also in a healing rift, healing at the same time. So it's very good. So basically, when I go to do damage, I light that last totem. Then, as I'm beelining for the night, I throw a grenade right away. And then that way, my grenade starts recharging right from the very beginning of the damage phase. And then I nuke that yellow bar so that I can get the damage buff to damage the boss. And then I cast my rift, and then I turn around and I super the boss, right? Because I know I'm amplified, because I just went around killing everything with forbearance. And I think you get amplified for about 20 seconds, so you got plenty of time to go and nuke that knight, put your rift down, and then do your thunderous retort chaos reach on the boss. And then you just go to town on Lament, and by the time your rift is depleted, your grenade is going to be almost recharged. And then you just toss your grenade as soon as you can, so that as it damages the boss, it gives you your rift back right away. So you can get 2 rifts down in one damage phase, along with 2 grenades. So other weapons here that are key: forbearance. This has been like, I don't think I could do this without forbearance. Definitely not on Broodweaver. I was using it on Broodweaver because Unrelenting and Soul Drinker is basically, if you're not going to run a build that has healing built into it, like Restoration and Cure, like on Bonk Titan or on even on Hunter with like Assassin's Cowl. Yeah, so if you're going for a build that doesn't have like intrinsic healing like that, you need to rely on certain weapons. So forbearance with Unrelenting, and I know, yes, it doesn't have Ambitious Assassin. I did that on purpose because I do a lot of solo stuff. So Unrelenting is pretty much a guaranteed chunk of healing, like every time I use it, because of chain reaction. I kill multiple enemies at once. Soul Drinker also gives you a little bit on reload, but mainly Unrelenting gives you a fairly big chunk. But anyways, so yeah, couldn't believe it. I finally beat this boss. It was like, no joke, it probably took me about 5 hours or more even. Trying to beat this boss with Broodweaver, and then I put on Stormcaller, and I did it in less than an hour. So, but I also optimized my run, like all those little things, like with the timing of throwing my grenade and casting my rift and nuking that knight, like all those little things. And then I got rewarded with a bait and switch tracking module Cold Comfort, so I was happy about that. But anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully the next boss will be coming soon. Take care.